cosplayer based out of LA. I hope you follow me at GenevieveMarie.com, Genevieve Marie at Facebook, and Genevieve Nyland on Twitter, and Genevieve Marie Cosplay on Instagram. Multipass!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting class at the Comic Book University. I'm your teacher, Professor Bill. Let's get started. Guys, as you've seen from the beginning of this video, that was Genevieve Marie. She's a professional cosplayer. I figured, why not talk about The Fifth Element, specifically Leeloo of The Fifth Element. This was a movie back in 1997. It came to pretty critical acclaim. This was Luc Besson. I liked this movie. I want to say I loved the movie. I liked the movie. I liked the movie a lot. I'm going to explain the main reasons why I like the movie a lot, as opposed to love it in this simple present-day terminology. I am so happy that the trope that sci-fi films and superhero movies explicitly don't feel the need to make fun of themselves anymore in order to be justified. I remember this was a big deal that they used to do, and I've seen lots of interviews by several directors and producers who have indicated that in order for the general greater audience to enjoy and repeat view a superhero movie, you gotta have a little bit of levity in the sense of making fun of yourself, making fun of the movie, making fun of the idea of a superhero movie every once in a while. No, absolutely not. I completely disagree with that. And if you want proof, Batman and Robin. All right, just George Clooney, bat nipples, all that good stuff. I rest my case. You do not need to make fun of yourself. Or maybe there's just such a thing as making fun of yourself a little bit way too much. I feel as though The Fifth Element was one of those movies where they really did make fun of themselves a little bit too much. And maybe they could have gotten most of that out by simply not having Chris Tucker in the movie. I don't know. I heard that they originally wanted Prince to be in the movie and that Lenny Kravitz was supposed to be a Plan B. I don't know why they went with Plan C. I'd be okay with him not having been in that movie. I liked him in Friday. He was pretty cool in, well, the first two of the Rush Hour movies. Jackie Chan. Yeah, I didn't need him in this movie. Absolutely not. But at the heart of it, the main reason why Comic Book University is going to delve into The Fifth Element is because more than sci-fi, it's a superhero movie. And the superhero in this movie is Leeloo. I am not going to even attempt to pronounce her name because that's just blah, that ridiculously long name. It's like something from Elven. If you ever read the Dragonlance Chronicles, Lorland Thalassa, and so no, I'm not even going to try that. But Leeloo is a superheroine. She's female lead. You know, you have Bruce Willis, I guess, to really hold down the movie, right? You got Gary Oldman. Whoa, anything that Gary Oldman touches, I mean, for crying out loud, it's pretty much going to be gold in, if not gold proper. This movie was at the very least gold plated. But, and you can't argue the diva, Mai Wen, who played Plava Laguna. Again, I can't express my utter joy and utter disappointment at this movie. And I think that you're going to see this kind of come full circle in the end when you see where I'm going with this. The movie starts off in 1914. Now, this is actually very historically a good year to go by. This is right before World War I started. And it was at the end of the imaginary protection that Great Britain was lauding over the Egypt area, even though it was still a part of the Ottoman Empire. And then a full authoritarian protectorate came over it afterwards because of the individual successorships and the plots to take things over, and the Mamelukes and others still all trying to vie for power in Egypt proper. And the idea that when things go bad in Egypt, usually it means that people destroy the natural beauty of the country. People go into museums and loot and rob and destroy, and it's a real shame. And that's potentially what they were alluding to in this. And yeah, I think there was a good year to really do this. And at the end of the day, it would explain why these aliens came in and retrieved the sarcophagi and the 4 elemental stones, basically all 5 of the elements. Now, the Mandoshawans are some weird kind of robotic species. Maybe they're like Transformers and we just never saw their transformation. Either way, they're these beings, these sentient beings who have apparently come to Earth many times before. They came down to retrieve these elements. Every 5,000 years, some great powerful evil is supposed to come down and just wipe the Earth out. And only the presence of these 5 elements and the activation of these elements, that's really important, is actually going to turn away this evil or destroy the evil. I can't be sure which one it's actually supposed to do. But this evil, this great evil, is supposed to be sentient also and can apparently make phone calls. Watch the movie, you'll understand. But, and that's what I mean about it being really campy, amongst other things. But these creatures come to retrieve these elements and they depart. They leave just behind this little key for this priest to keep passing on successively through generations to the once and future priests. So now here it is, the 23rd century, New York City, and Bruce Willis is a retired Air Force fighter pilot, and he is now a taxi driver. He's apparently got like 5 points left on his license. That goes really quick anyway. So while he's doing his thing, this is 300 years after the events of 1914, this spaceship with the Mandoshawans come back. It comes back to return, as promised, the elements to ward off this great evil. Apparently a day or 2 before it actually comes back. Talk about cutting it close. So on its way back, it gets attacked. It's intercepted by these other really freaky looking creature things, whatever. It's effective enough. And the entire ship gets destroyed. Pretty much everything on the ship gets destroyed. The only thing that remains of the creature that was in the sarcophagus is the right hand. And we don't really know too much of anything about this being, this creature. But moving forward, we realize that it's actually a species of the supreme beings. That's plural. Now, I don't want to get too far into philosophy and especially theology. I mean, it's not what this channel's about. Please go to another class for all that stuff or a little bit too much. I'm just really here to talk about the comics. But it's open for interpretation. It seems to me as though it's actually a species of these beings. So at the very least, you'd say that this is an angel. Actually, maybe at the very highest. At the very least, it's just a perfect human being. And they use the term perfect so many times, it actually becomes beyond redundant. It's annoying. It's actually annoying how every couple of steps you hear, perfect, perfect, shut up, just shut up. But you put that stuff aside, and you've got this being who, now we're at this stage of human technology where we're able to recreate the genetic patterns. And here's where I want to mention it. We don't really know what she looked like before, because maybe the devices for this technology was to work the genes in a human-esque body of some way, shape, form, or another. Right? Who knows? Realistically, they didn't even know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. I mean, if they're able to do genetic reproduction and instantly heal people from death, and there's only like a part of your body left, a hand. First off, I'm not too scared about anybody in this movie dying. I mean, unless you just don't have the money for it. And we've seen movies like that before. But basically, they were able to reconstruct a human body. Then you'd figure that they would know the genetic codes inside for everything about this creature, but apparently they didn't. So it was beyond the human scopes. This is my take on it. It was beyond the comprehension of humans even 2 decades from now. So they reconstruct this being, and the perfect being, the supreme being race, is Milla Jovovich. And if I butchered your name, Milla, I'm sorry. And if you're watching this, hey, thanks. Please subscribe. In the meantime, Milla is this perfect human being. God, now I'm going to start saying it over and over again. Repetitiveness, and she's got some incredible superpowers. I mean, when you see the things that she's capable of doing, we're talking about superhuman strength. She punched through what is essentially what was stated to be an unbreakable panel of, I don't remember if they actually said the word glass, because I would imagine it's more than just glass. It looks like glass to you and me today, but anyway. She's got enhanced durability. She's tough. She's really tough. She took a skydive, like a free fall jump off of a skyscraper, landed in one of those flying taxi cabs piloted by Bruce Willis, and only had some scratches on her. Not bad. Not bad at all, right? She has accelerated learning. This girl went from not being able to speak, she spoke like some angelic language, Enochian, something like that, and was able to, by the end of the movie, speak what is essentially perfect English. Simply going through A to Z, and that's American, A to Z in every other country. The online encyclopedias out there, right? And it's 1997. They didn't know there was going to be Wikipedia and stuff like that, so come on, give them a break. But she was able to understand human history and a pretty good context for it all quickly. I don't even know how to explain how quickly she's able to do this, just bzz, 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 really quickly. You couple the accelerated learning with the enhanced reflexes and the agility that she had, wow. You get that one scene where all of a sudden Bruce Lee pops up and he starts doing his thing with his movies and whatnot. And she's watching and she's eating and she goes, oh. And you suddenly realize, oh yeah, ninja fu. And she becomes this ultimate killer fighting machine. Now, we already saw from her, I would imagine this is a part of her accelerated learning, that when she first broke out of the glass, knocked out that general, and was standing there and all these cops, these military police were standing around and ready to shoot her, and the scientist was there. I'm going to act tough now. We saw her scoping the whole area out and realizing that there was no clean getaway. That's why she went through the wall instead. And that's part of the campiness. I mean, you look at the special effects of this movie and it was fantastic. And they had to use a lousy bit of tinfoil, spray-painted gold, in order to have a wall that she can go through. You couldn't have come up with something a little bit better than that? I'm sorry, did you not see the rest of the special effects? I mean, some of the hugest models in the history of movies, and I just don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it anymore. Leeloo can regenerate. I mean, we're talking like almost Wolverine level accelerated healing. The chick was shot up in the air vent, the air ducts, right? When Gary Oldman came in and started butter with that super weapon that he had. Didn't bother using the net. But just rocket launches her and bullets her and all sort of flamethrowers her, just it blows her away. And she's just laying there unconscious. And approximately 1 hour later, she's healed. Completely healed. Except for, she wound up losing a lot of her love, a lot of her passion, because just how reckless and dangerous humans can be. We have the propensity for a lot of violence. It is what it is. But she was bodily healed. she has the ability of elemental channeling. All right, we saw at the very end of the movie, the crux of the whole thing was that when they got the other four basic Aristotelian elements working, we have science today, we know that those aren't actually elements. But when they got those working, the last element, the fifth element, was actually, spoilers, love. And she had no more love left. There wasn't any. She had none left to give. You can't really blame her. I mean, poor girl, everything she just went through. But the point here is that she, like me, this was the culmination part that I was talking about, how I was high on this movie and I was really low on this movie. Leeloo, too, is like that. She's an extremely emotional girl, extremely emotional being, in that she has the capability of extreme love, so much that she can destroy the ultimate evil that only comes by once every 5,000 years. And at the same time, she's capable of an lower than existentialist perception of life. Why even bother? You just destroy it all. I mean, I guess in a sense, that's what it would take. And we didn't really see her with full anger, but we did see her with a lot of fear also. Leeloo really was emotioned, like the spectrum of emotions that you could possibly imagine, and she was the extreme of every single one of them, or at least had the ability to reach the extreme of every single one of them. And I think that's something that maybe some people had actually missed about the movie, is that sci-fi aside and fantasy aside, superheroism aside, that she really represented what emotions actually are, and the paradigm of what they could be. She's not just the perfect being, she's the perfect emotional being. And that's one of the reasons why I think so many people wound up just falling in love with this movie. I think it really helped that she was a fairly new actress at the time. I think she was in the Cat's Meow before this. I think that came before this. And then afterwards, she was in a couple of movies also. The very following year, I think it was, 3 years later max, she was in The Messenger, the Joan of Arc story. And of course, she is Resident Evil. But she was very new at the time of the making of this movie. And I think that really helped with the experience, because if she was just another actress who, even if it was an actress who was very beloved to us, who's just in this movie again and just doing whatever, it wouldn't have been as exhilarating as it could have been. And that's the thing. As campy as the movie was, and maybe some people feel that it was necessary at the time, I don't. I simply disagree with that. But I think that her newness to the film and her desire to really impress was what actually made it what it is. I don't think anybody goes back and says, I love that movie because of Gary Oldman. Even though when you look at it, Gary Oldman is one of the most diverse actors you're ever going to be able to place a name on. And even with Bruce Willis in the movie, he's like the number one macho guy. He's not the silly macho. He was silly in this, but he wasn't the Arnold Schwarzenegger silly or the throw mama from the train kind of silly. That's Danny DeVito and Billy Crystal. No, Stop or My Mother Will Shoot. That's the one I'm thinking of with Sylvester Stallone. No. Bruce Willis at the time, he was the guy, right? He was the guy. This is Mr. Die Hard. Mr. Die Hard with a vengeance. This guy died hard, all right? Without ever dying. Him and Chuck Norris, right? These were the two supreme macho guys who, if they cracked a joke, it was because they were about to pull the trigger on you. But even then, he wasn't the reason why we go back and we look at this movie with such fondness. It was Milla, without a doubt. She really did this. She really made this movie. And looking back, I feel that one of the best things that could possibly be done for this movie is one of two things. One, do not ever, ever make a sequel to this movie. I don't want to see what happens 5,000 years in the future. And let's be realistic, if they were to make a sequel to this movie, it would actually be a prequel, and we'd find out what happened the 5,000 years prior. And I just don't want to see that. I have absolutely zero interest in seeing that in a movie. No. What I feel should be done with this series, personally, if you're not going to just drop it and leave it as it stands, I feel that it should be made into a television series. Even if it's a mini-series, but I think that it could deserve, I think that it does deserve, and could do well with, just making it a full-on a season, and you could easily throw in more seasons afterwards, and just retell the whole story. You want to reboot it. Reboot it with love. Fifth Element, reboot it for real. Actually make it into a television series where we get to see more of the behind the scenes. Who are these creatures, all these different creatures, and how did they all become what they are? Where did this ultimate evil actually come from? Maybe you want to keep that suspense, like how are the walkers on The Walking Dead not rotting, and where'd they come from and stuff like that. You want to keep certain things like that a secret. Hey, that's perfectly fine. But was Milla's character actually asleep for 5,000 years? Because she missed out on a lot of human history. I mean, she couldn't have seen this stuff the whole time. She was asleep in the sarcophagus the entire time. Why? These are the kind of things I want to know. I really want to know all these things. I mean, if they could make the Stargate movie with Kurt Russell into not just an entire series, but a spin-off series or two also, with Stargate Atlantis and the like. If they could do all of that with that one movie, they could do just as much with this movie, I feel, because there's so much unexplored, so many untapped resources for this movie, and that's what I'd really like to see. Guys, that's the wrap. Class dismissed.